All right. Good morning, good evening, good night. Welcome into NFT Live on the Web3 network. We're back after a crazy 4th of July. Hopefully you had a good one yourself. To all of our fellow Americans out there, we salute you. To all of the Englanders out there, suck it. Guys, I'm going to be completely honest. I'm a little hungover still. So this episode could go off the rails. We'll see where it's headed. The dashboard isn't filled up. It's just going to be us hanging out with you, enjoying whatever this bear market is. And Gif, you look like you got a nice little shave. Did you mop up the top too? What's going on up top? Sheesh.
I mean, I did go out to a 4th of July party at my good friend Pepper's. Also, my neighbor, I don't know if y'all can hear that. My neighbor literally waited until right now to apparently just whip out a chainsaw and like start, carving into our shared wall here. So if it's incredibly loud, I apologize. I have no control over whatever ridiculous shenanigans are happening behind me in my neighbor's apartment, but we're still here. And I had a good 4th yesterday, partying at my friend Pepper's here in LA. And I'm a little hungover.
I'm sure the incessant in your ear doesn't help. But guys, we are just getting started. Like I said, we will be covering the latest from the NFT space. And we got a breaking piece of news right before we went live, which never happens. Usually all of the biggest projects in the space wait till we press end stream and wait for us to just right when we get up out of our chair, launch their different releases. And it looks like Blur just launched trait bidding. So we're going to get into that. We got some heavy metal takes here. Heavy metal launched last week. We've been getting after it in the Forge for about, a little bit more than 72 hours here, maybe even a little bit more than that. So our initial takes, where we go from here, man. NFTs, floor prices all over the place. How are you feeling?
Not good.
Damn. It's going to be that bad. It's going to be that bad throughout the episode, huh?
Yeah. This is ridiculous. I apologize. I'm a little gassy, as you can hear. No, I can't control this. Anyway,
See, I don't hear it now.
I'm yelling. Yeah, because it's going to keep coming in and out. This is going to be a ridiculous show for a lot of reasons.
Okay. All right. So we're going to try to make it through the entirety of the episode. A couple topics we're hitting on today. Let me share my screen to get you guys a little bit of the intro on what we're making it through. Captains and Ether. So Captains revealed here to some muted responses. So not many people are too fond of that. Ether is already down, I believe, from mint price. But I haven't been following Ether. What do they got?
No, it was, I think, initially a little bit, but it's popped back up to 0.7. The mint price is 0.65, so it's holding a little bit above the public mint price. And public mint for Ether is happening July 9th. The crazy thing is they slashed their supply in half to 5,500.
Got it. All right, so we'll be covering that Captain's piece. We'll pull up some other things going on around the space. Like I said, Blur launching trait bidding and the heavy metal reaction. One piece of housekeeping, or I guess I could throw in two here. Jessica Yatrovsky obviously hosts a really awesome Twitter space via the Nifty Kit platform, basically, or a profile. And you can see that tomorrow we will be talking gaming and NFTs. I don't know how I snuck onto this list. We got VGF, we got Keegan here, but somehow I made it. I appreciate Jessica Yatrovsky for thinking of me on this Twitter space. But that is going to be happening tomorrow, 3 p.m. Eastern. So that's going to be awesome. Hopefully you guys can check it out. If you're on Twitter, get on over there, 3 p.m. Excited for that.
And you're officially now a Web3 gamer because you've been forging.
True.
You've been heavy metal forging. So you have some credentials now.
I have been gaming in Web3 for a long time here, GIF. Come on, man.
Chicken Derby?
Blankos? No, we were hitting Blankos back in the day.
Oh, don't forget Blankos.
We had it was like Pixelmon, There was like a previous Pixelmon back in 2017. I gotta figure out the Ethermon. Ethermon was the original OG
Sure.
Web3 game. No, it was true.
Sure.
You would literally go into a portal to get to the next instance, and you had to wait about 10 minutes for an Ether transaction. It was awesome.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
And how does that compare to what's going on with Heavy Metal Forge right now? How far have we come?
Same.
Or not come?
Haven't come a single bit. We haven't even rang the doorbell yet on where we're at. Can you guys tell what's happening here? It's absolutely ridiculous. This entire show. This is what it's going to be. Strap in. Hey, I spoke with Andrew Steinwald last week. Andrew was a very large influencer. It was funny. We were reminiscing about 2021 times when the metaverse first took off, or the term metaverse first took hold, and he was a big buyer of crypto voxels. That episode's going to be out tomorrow. So I had him on the Wild Wild Web pod. He came into the studio, talked a little metaverse and where we're at today. That episode will be out tomorrow. Excited for you guys to listen to it because he's like an OG. Him and Josie as well, his wife, have just been getting after it in the NFT space for a hot minute.
That sounds like an awesome conversation, and I can't wait to check it out. Because I don't like just regular old OGs. I need my OGs to be OGs if I'm going to take them seriously. Because what does OG even mean at this point? It's kind of been bastardized, just like the term metaverse. It doesn't mean anything at a certain point. When you just put OG in front of everything, what the fuck does it mean? But when you specify OG, then I'm like, oh.
It's the only way to talk about the true OGs.
Now it means something.
Okay. I love live content. DP saying, what's good, folks? Omar saying, GM, OVOT, Chromer's in the house, Prodigy, Nox Darkness, Easy and Crypto. Thank you guys for showing up here early. I'm going to do what I can to share this out. I did lose my blue check today. So I don't know if we get any coverage via my account. But maybe your guys' account gets a little bit more work. Gets a little bit more coverage there. You guys could share the tweet that I just posted in chat. That would be awesome as we get started here. But okay, this is the biggest piece of news that we're going to cover right now. Cirrus just tweeted out Blur launching trait bidding. We're going to bring up a couple different tweets that I'm seeing across my timeline. Basically, people are like just now experiencing it. Again, it went live like 30 minutes ago, maybe less. So we're going to say, what that means for NFTs. Again, the whole idea, I think, regarding this conversation is Blur essentially almost killed trait bids to begin with, right? Like people bidding on higher, than floor apes, for example, went out the window when Blur, kind of launched their features where you can bid near the floor. So does this have any effect on non-floor apes, Gifted?
Potentially over time. Again, I think we have to get back more towards the collector's mindset and a different market for this stuff to really matter. But I think the idea that rarities and the different traits don't matter at all is wrong. It's just right now they matter much less than they could or should. When there's more collectors, more interest, and more liquidity, people will speculate on traits again. And it's important to have the tools. I think this is a W.
Yeah, it looks like Blur, along with this, we got a whole version 2 announcement, right? So 2 big updates. Trades now use 50% less gas as well. So it looks like they optimized some contracts as well. And now we have trait bidding. Quick note, as part of Blur version 2 upgrade, Blur version 1 bids will no longer work. People were freaking out. They were like, where did all my bids go? Apparently, it was just this update getting pushed. If you previously had bids on Blur, make sure to recreate them for Blur. All right, Franklin's already tweeting about this. The rest of the NFT space is likely coming on board here shortly. So we'll be following this live, basically, which, again, we never get a chance to do. These guys always seem to time it around that 3 p.m. mark when we go live or go off air from being live. Dingaling saying Blur really turned 95% of NFT collections into floors, crushed mid-rare values, and then said, hey, here's trait bidding. Is there even a point anymore?
Yeah, I think you have to people's behaviors have to be relearned. Again, this was one of my biggest issues with Blur in the first part, is that you create new standards, and then those standards and those behaviors are very hard to upturn. So now you're fighting against the standard that they've already set. They've already set a standard where basically they're all the same. The floor is the floor. Fuck it. And now you're going to be like trying to change that behavior again. And it'll be slow. I think it'll take a little while. But again, especially when markets shift and people start to dig deeper into certain collections and people become more interested in certain collections, all this stuff starts to become more interesting. And, I do think over time, rarities and traits will matter to an extent, hopefully more than it has lately.
I'm going to try to pull this up in real time. It's always tough to kind of get a good look at the Blur's platform while we're live. So we got traits here. So bids on traits. So I see 10 ETH as a top bid on a trait. So these are...
And OpenSea has had this for a while too, right? That's something to note. But Blur basically deployed a whole bunch of contracts in the last couple of days, so I think everybody knew some new things were coming, and this is probably what a lot of that was.
When you say OpenSea had this as a feature, you're just talking about like filtered by traits, right? Like this is a whole other system that kind of needs to be worked out. Like what when you say OpenSea had this before, what do you mean?
OpenSea has abilities to bid on different traits. Like they have this functionality. Like when you go put collection offers, it's not just, hey, just put in a random offer unless you want it to be. You can specify what you're offering.
But these are, I guess the where I'm taking this is these are incentivized bids, correct? Based on traits. That's what I'm looking at.
Oh, it's incentive. Okay, see, I didn't even understand that. So it's incentivized differently based on the traits.
I
that's
think
what you're
so.
saying?
I think that's
that's interesting. So they're gamifying it now in a new way. So yeah, it'll be very interesting to see if these new incentives undo, really do change the behaviors that they've already created.
And really that's I think the crux of the combo is like how does it look in real time? Like what mechanisms are they using? Get ready for a new kind of roller coaster. Trait bidding launched on Blur. Credit where credit's due. Right step of turning NFTs back to NFTs instead of fungible tokens. Not sure they are paying people to buy NFTs. They probably will work too well, but curious to see. Judgment reserved. So here's the negative part of doing this live, right? We're still trying to figure out what this even looks like. So we're kind of doing that with you, but I think there are some blind spots here. Whether they're incentivizing bids on certain traits is what I'm trying to unpack. Luis is saying OpenSea has trait bidding for a while now, not incentivized though. So whether this incentivized is again, that's where my mind went immediately, because Blur again incentivizes floor bidding. So when they launched this, my mind immediately went to, okay, now they're incentivizing trait bidding. All right, if you have any takes, guys, or any knowledge on this new piece that you're seeing out there, let us know, because we're trying to figure it out as well.
It would make sense if they're able to do it for them to incentivize by how close to the floors for those traits you are, because that's how they've been doing it.
Yeah.
Is that it's just like, hey, depending on how close to the floor you are, it's how many points you get. So if they're able to track, how close you're bidding to the floor of those traits, then they could maybe do a similar mechanic. So I don't know.
Okay, so in real time, something that's less rare on the traits or like less valuable that people perceive. So Crazy Eyes has always been a trait like a floored trait on Bored Apes. Like nobody wants Crazy Eyes. That's the whole meme. So I'm guessing that trait will be more incentivized. Like the
I don't know. That's a good idea. That would be a really interesting idea, actually. By the way, Prodigy saying it sounds like I've got a vibrator sitting on the table next to me every time I unmic. I might have several. You don't know. You can't see what's happening on my table right here. You don't know.
So Gino is here saying, finally a W from Blur. Trait bidding is active. Hopefully this helps kickstarts value for mid rares again. Bidders are incentivized to bid higher on premium traits instead of slow grind bid dumping the floor to zero. Are we back? Is this what it need? Is this the feature update that we needed to turn around whatever spiral we've been in on Blur for like the last year?
We need a lot more than this, but
bidders are incentivized to bid higher on premium traits instead of slow grind bid dumping the floor to zero. So, okay, another question I have with this: Blur bidding continues, floor price bidding continues to be incentivized. So it's not completely going away, but now they've added this ability to bid higher on premium traits. That's a huge update. I'm gonna put a poll in chat as well. For those of y'all showing up early, we appreciate y'all. We're gonna keep this probably an hour 30 today. I don't think we do the 2-hour one. I don't think my brain can actually take
45 minutes. Fuck
45 minutes. Let's see if we can pack all that value. Let's just do 10 minutes. Let's end the stream now.
Yo, speed round. Lightning.
So NFT go back check. We're in a bear market.
3, 4, 5, 6.
Where do we need Crypto Buffalo? All right, I'm gonna put a poll in chat here. Is this Blur trait bidding going to turn us around? Because basically what we see now is people are incentivized to place bids during or at the floor, and in whatever mechanism that creates, floor price goes down. Is trait bidding the mechanism that turns this around? Wow.
I don't think it's going to be that easy or quick of a solution, but I don't think it hurts. I think this is actually them taking steps back in the right direction to basically add a little bit more integrity back into the NFT collections that they've just totally fucking demolished.
Eviscerated.
Yeah. So, hey, it kind of feels like it's like a after the fact. Hey, we know that we totally destroyed the whole NFT market, but here's a little olive branch.
All right, Prodigy's asking in chat if we see those emotes. We do, not on Restream, not on the platform we use, but we do see it on YouTube, so we appreciate that. We're just getting started. We're touching on some breaking news. We are going to get to heavy metals here in just a moment, and a couple other big pieces. We appreciate it if you guys could leave a like on the episode, help it get out. But I'm dropping this poll in a sec.
If you're still here, let us know in the chat what you did for the 4th. I want to know your crazy story. Did any of you fight a house or a building like Nifty Q did last weekend?
We're never letting this one go.
Did you try some fancy new drinks? Did you blow off any of your fingers? Let us know. I assume somebody else will have to type for you if that's the case. But yeah, would love to know how many fingers you lost in the comments. Luis saying, no takes on Blur from me. I'm still mad at them for destroying royalties. Yeah, all right. Fair
take.
That's fair.
Fair take. All right, this comes from Blur's Twitter profile. Trait bidding. Previously, you could only use Blur to place collection bids. That changes today. Blur V2 lets you bid on mids, rares, or any trait you want. Trait bidding is supported on all collections, but only select collection earn trait bidding points. There it is. What collections? All right, so this is really cool because what we can have here is like a in the same way that we see all of the active, maybe even blend collections just going through crazy volatility, and you're able to say, oh, these other collections that aren't being traded heavily there, you can see the reaction. This is what we'll get here. So we'll have a case study of, Group A that is on this trading points system, and then Group B that isn't. So at least we'll get to see that kind of control group there. So trade bidding points, you can earn more points for trade bidding on punks, DeGods, Miladies, and 9 other collections. Trait bids earn more points based on how much higher they are than the top collection bid. Learn how trait bids. Okay. All right. So this is where we need to be right now. All right, this is from Blur. So we're going to read off this summary. Trait bids. So bidding points have been updated to incorporate trait bids. They earn more points based on how much higher they are than the top collection bid. And so when they say top collection bid, they mean like floor price, I'm assuming. Am I right in that statement? Trait bids earn more points based on how much higher they are than the top collection bid and the supply of the trait. Note that while all collections have trait bids enabled, only certain collections have trait bidding points. You can find the full list of collections that have trait bidding points here. All right, so we're about to see whatever they have set up. Let's see. I don't see the... No, I don't see the collections here, man. Here we go. All right, we can see the points there. So we've got Punks, Azuki, Miladies, Degods, Bored Apes, Mutants, Canpie Pandas, Pudgies, Other Deeds.
We might want to look at
Kennels,
these pandas because I've seen these pandas pop up a few times and I don't know anything about them. They might be worth looking into.
Prodigy saying he blew something. Please, sir. Please. Keep the chat PG for us, folks. No takes on Blur from me. Okay. Luis had that. All right, so here's the collections. Do we have any takes on, like, you know, I'm assuming these are just like high volume collections that they have on the platform. So all right, how it works. I'm not going to go into the actual math here. Actually, we might as well. So the higher your trait bid is, the more items in that trait, the more points you'll receive. The weight a trait bid can receive based on its price is capped. You can't just bid 1,000 ETH on a 1-to-1 to game the system. Bids on mids with a moderate premium can yield more points than bidding on rares with a high premium due to higher supply of mids. Trait bid points are not dilutive. If a collection receiving 100 bidding points per day, okay. So I don't want to get too much in the weeds here. We'll probably do that after the episode. But basically, I mean, the takeaway here, these collections that we see, the mid-rare or like mid-traits on these collections should see some type of volume increase.
Yeah, it seems so. It's interesting to see them doing this now. You know what I mean? The way that they've rolled this out. But it does seem like it's a positive move back into the other direction, adding more integrity back into the collections and making NFTs again and not just fungible tokens. So yeah, if they're incentivizing people to be actually picking out and being more, interested in the art, anything like that, is good. And I'm excited. But also to your point, like just reading through that, like you pulled up the article that's getting into like the specific tokenomics and mechanics around the incentives.
Yeah.
It just goes back to like showing that this team is definitely doing stuff like they're super big brain, like Giga Chad tokenomics people. They're the way that they're gamifying the whole blur and blend. And I mean, they've created a product that is so much more sophisticated and more focused on trading than anything that existed. Yeah, man. I don't know, man. It's cool to see people innovating with the technology always and playing around with different incentives. So I at least give them that. They've always been good at that. That's the one thing that we gave them a lot of credit for in the beginning was like, look, they've found a product market fit and they launched in a way that nobody else had and created competition for OpenSea because they're doing stuff like this.
Yeah. Yeah, the other part of the story too, Gif, you were talking about Machi and some of the things that he was up to over the weekend on Blur specifically. This is season 2. No mention of, tokens being dropped. Like that's obviously the big incentive people are like hoping for, right? Is to rank highly on these leaderboards and then get dropped Blur tokens at the end of these seasons. So they're saying season 2. as core contributors, we view each season as a critical time for us to build infrastructure for NFTs. In season 1, we launched Blur's marketplace, bid pools, and countless tools for listing, yada, yada, yada. This season, we've launched lending and BNPL, full mobile support notifications. So to your point, they're obviously launching a bunch of different products and different features for those products. 3 key developments remain. We will share the timeline for season 2 as soon as these developments get closer to shipping.
So all those contracts that they've been deploying has basically been the infrastructure and updates for season 2. And so they're rolling out some of that, and it sounds like there's going to be more updates to come. So we'll be following it here. Subscribe, join us, be part of this as we cover it all in real time.
So 2 takes by Justin Murray here. Weird how SMB barrels and Mad Lads are immune from the bear market. You know, to be honest, that there's alpha in that comment, right? Like if you're on these smaller, you know, quote unquote smaller chains, not Ethereum, a lot of times you can find projects and collections that are immune to those market moves that we're seeing in mass on Ethereum. Like literally everything's moving almost in lockstep. You see some projects like Oni Force, some others that are doing well in this time, or at least holding. But for the most part, all Ethereum collections are moving in lockstep. And you don't see that when you have a collection that is on another chain, that is not experiencing that same effect that you see where everything is interwoven with Ethereum.
Fair point. Maybe we all should have been trading on Solana NFTs this whole time, Q.
The other comment, only like 3K people use Blur. It's a whale's paradise. That's all. We've been covering the analytics on Blur in OpenSea, right? Like the majority of volume right now, NFTs, Blur. The majority of traders, OpenSea. And so you see the idea of you know, even though they're launching these products, how many people are using it. I could get behind that. The problem is that there's not enough liquidity in the market that it's actually having an effect overall. Like you can see Blur's effect on the overall space, and you know, I don't think you can kind of like generalize it into, hey, you know, only 3K people are using it. It's like, well, that's driving the entire market right now, or at least a portion of it.
Yeah, they have really, really outsized influence and impact, you know, these whales right now. I think Quantum Variant made an interesting point on GM-Web3 this morning, where he's kind of saying, you know, due to the locked supply of the main 10K collections and like 5K, 10Ks, they're probably always going to be volatile. Like there's probably never going to be a point where those are not somewhat volatile floors, because they have a tremendously small amount of supply. And so, you know, whenever there's a sweep or whenever there's new liquidity or a sell-off, like those floors can move very fast. The counterpoint to that has been what we've seen with Blur actually creating, you know, more of like a floor and liquidity around certain floors. So I don't know if there's enough demand and enough liquidity. Maybe that's not always the case. At least it was for a while with projects like Bored Apes, but it seems like maybe we broke past those walls at this point, and like there's just so little liquidity at this point. So I don't know, but it is interesting to think about like the fact that these are like, you know, like Bitcoin, Bored Apes is a fixed supply that will never change. You know, so as eventually over time, you imagine that awareness and interest and value in that IP can grow over time, and demand should grow. The supply doesn't change, and what does that mean, right?
Yeah, we were talking. I mean, if you're out there listening to us right now, where we find ourselves in the bear market, it feels like we're having the conversation of like, and I think it's healthy, but we're having the conversation of like, what are we doing, and why are we here, and what are the things that are going to work?
Why are we here?
And asking ourselves multiple times, why are we here?
Why are we here? Can you answer? Can you honestly? I'd love an answer right now. Yeah. Actually, so if you got anything, please. Well,
you know, I think what we at least from my perspective on the morning show, it's art and it's gaming, and the reason for that is art doesn't necessarily need utility. You know, in some sense, you're buying art to buy art. And so as the world moves more digital, you have this still need for that. And I think PFPs were propped up around this idea that teams are going to continuously release utility. What can I get? How can I profit off of this? And what you see with the launch of gaming projects is an in kind of inherent utility. So out on the art scene, you see projects like Ringers doing super well. You see Fidenzas, you see Squiggles. Those are doing well because those are just art pieces in a digital space. With gaming now kind of coming to fruition, you have essentially what can be accounted to like even a PFP, right? Like a heavy metal could be a PFP, but it also has inherent utility. And those two sectors really interest me right now because you still have whales, you still have really strong like heavy how can I say this, whales that have really big bags, obviously interested in collecting digital art. And then you also have people who want to play video games. It's everything in between for me with PFPs that doesn't make sense. It's why do I want to own a Pudgy Penguin PFP besides the fact that, and maybe that's a bad example because you get a physical product, but you see where I'm getting like a little mixed up with PFPs because that's where we're at. Why do I want to own this? Gaming, you have utility of usage, and art, you just have the art, So that's where I'm at. That's where my headspace is at. Is I see those two sectors as primarily where I'm going to focus.
I got one word for you, Q. Vibes.
Wag me.
Actually, no. The one word I was going to say, Q, community.
You're hitting all the right notes right now, Gifted.
But like that was and is still one of the only real utilities of a lot of these collections is if they can actually curate and hold on to a valuable community, then that can be a good reason to be there. A lot of people say that that's what Azuki's got, which I think that they do have a strong community. But you've even seen, you make one big mistake there or 5 big mistakes. I don't know how many they've made at this point. But even they're like in a really tough spot right now. Azuki's got down to like 7 ETH, like something like that. The Azuki, by the way, just to like follow up on what's been going on in Blur, maybe we can I want to move on to other things. I don't want to talk about Blur all day, but just to follow up on this, Azuki was one of the projects that benefited the most from Blend. Everybody's speculating on where it was going to go. Oh, Azuki is going to be the next Bored Ape. So everybody taking out loans to buy up beans, to buy up Azukis and all this stuff. But then you see, when they actually launch a product, of course, it doesn't go as well as people had anticipated, which I definitely their fault on this one. You see it go the other way very quickly, right? All those liquidations, like something like 700 beans were liquidated in 48 hours or something like that. So Azuki, while they were the biggest benefactor of all this lending, they also have been the biggest loser of all these liquidations. That's the double-edged sword right there.
All right, so we have Blur pulled up there. We'll look at Crypto Slam too. We'll do Justin Murray a solid and look at what Solana's up to as well on the all chain analysis front that Crypto Slam gets us. Okay, so we had Azuki. Obviously, that we covered that last week. Ran to 15 or 16, went all the way down to now 7. I think is the floor price. Question being, and I think Biggie was the one to raise this in our chat. Is like, are you ever buying that? I think at some price you're a buyer. Like if this shit goes to 0.005, are you not buying Azuki? Like at some point somebody is a buyer. So I'll phrase that to you because I think my buy price was like 4 or 5 ETH. If it gets down to 4 or 5 ETH, I'm buying Azuki. Like it's that simple. So
yeah, if it gets down to 0.005, I'll think about it for sure. Yeah, and I'm not trying to FUD. I don't have my liquidity is locked elsewhere, like a bunch of heavy metals.
Yeah, I see this take is so weird to me, and it goes back to a question that Gifted posted in this whole like bear market discussion we're having. Why people like want to see apes fail? And so with Justin, when you say Magic Eden, OpenSea, and Blur can all die, in my humble opinion, it's like it's not necessarily like the mindset we want to have as a full like a fledgling ecosystem like this that only has a certain amount of users. You don't want to see things die. What you want to see is your project do extremely well and do better than those projects. You don't necessarily want to see someone die. That's what you see with a lot of hate, right? You're seeing a lot of hate for Bored Apes right now.
Some of it deserved. That's the thing, is that we were talking about is like there's been a lot of cocky crypto bro annoying people that, you know, that had to come up, that were probably always losers, and you know, that is what it is. And then they maybe didn't behave in a way that made Bored Apes look good. And so there's always been that, you know, it wasn't just the people that missed out that felt bad. It was then the people that felt insulted that this is what came to represent all of NFTs, you know? And so when you've got that sort of like frat bro, crypto bro thing where a lot of the representatives of the entire space are not who you'd want to represent you ever, you start to harbor that, I think, resentment. And that's what you're seeing, right? Is a lot of that negative resentment that's built up from a lot of Bored Apes maybe being a little bit too cocky or not being great representatives for the space in general. I don't know. That's part of it. There's a lot of other reasons too, I'm sure, but
yeah. So extractors with low quality projects, I think that's one of the reasons why we stay on a lot of topics. Sometimes when I see these like I see releases, and sometimes it feels like we're coming off too harsh, but that's because there is an extraction event happening, right? Like that, when you see a company come in, take 20 million from the wallets of other people, not physically, they're not getting hacked, but they're obviously putting their money towards something. And if there's no value accrual there, if there's no added value where you see some positive flywheel effects, it is an extraction. The thing is, Magic Eden, OpenSea, Blur are not extractors from the ecosystem. Arguably, they have the best product market fit of any NFT project or any NFT associated project is the marketplaces. So I don't see these marketplaces as extractors when it comes to that. And I wouldn't put the selling or the I guess giving of apes to celebrities on those projects. Blur didn't do that. OpenSea didn't do that. Magic Eden, I don't think did that.
I don't know, man. What about the BlackRock situation? We should do a follow up.
OpenSea got off clean.
We saw what you did. We know it's gonna come back.
Where is the BlackRock NFT?
Yeah, where is the BlackRock? If y'all don't know what we're talking about, during the news of BlackRock filing for an ETF, OpenSea on their C drop protocol on their homepage or through their website launched a derivative shitty cash grab project called BlackRocks. And it's just the most fucking ridiculous shit ever.
Oof.
Oh, look at that. Who could have seen that happening? The black rocks sank to the bottom of the sea. And I'm sure OpenSea would never want us to trudge this back up,
wow.
Bring it up again.
That's like a full ass rug. That is a full ass rug. There hasn't been volume.
They
in
promoted
4 days?
They promoted a rug and launched a rug on OpenSea. I mean,
wait, maybe we're on the wrong. No,
I don't know if we're misusing rug here. If there's a lot of promises per se, it was more just like a really shady project.
Okay, I can't find BlackRock on here. Blur has it still, but you can't find it on OpenSea. Check this out. Where is?
No way.
I see 10 items, 8 items.
Are you serious?
Is it BlackRock ETF? No, that's not what it was.
No. Is it gone?
Dude, no way they did that.
Is it gone?
Can someone else confirm this? So BlackRock ETF or BlackRock collection
Dude, no
launched on OpenSea, was
way.
featured on the front page, and now it's not even listed on OpenSea. That's
no way.
Skipted's mind
Somebody
is blown.
fucking dude. This is a conspiracy, bro. Putting the C in conspiracy. Somebody find this collection on OpenSea. We have it on record because we pulled it up on the show as it was happening. Like we couldn't believe it. So we've got
This
it.
is it.
We've
This
got
is-
it on record.
Okay. All right. So I have it on Blur. Okay. So I've got it on Blur. This is clearly the right one because it was like 0.3. You can see the volume on 621. So the timelines go up. And then you search on OpenSea. Wow.
You're fucking with me.
Dude, I am. Hey, man. Look, I have never been the biggest supporter of OpenSea. I've always kind of been, you know, on Blur's side with how they're kind of releasing products. OpenSea has always been like we're the ones for the community, and at every step of the way, or at some steps of the way, it's very clear that they are not. It's very clear. Gifted's gonna freak out.
Nah, man, this is like we are actually doing investigative journalism and breaking news here. Like, I don't know if a lot of people know about this. I'm sure somebody's figured this out, but like we just figured this out right now. This is shady shit. Like I've always hoped for the best for OpenSea and tried to give them the benefit of the doubt because like we need them to do well. We need them to be for artists. We need like, you know what I mean? Like for better or worse, we're kind of stuck with them as the biggest NFT marketplace. So I always try and give them the benefit of the doubt, but this is like, that's shady shit. That's really shady.
Okay, Justin Murray saying if you ever use Tensor, you will realize NFT trading doesn't have to suck. I'm assuming this is like some type of like decentralized marketplace. Is it some type of is it some type of like DeFi app that you're talking about? Or is it a centralized exchange? What are we talking about? I would love to pull that up and look at it. So yeah, all right. So let's move on from the BlackRock situation before we go further down. Speaking of artists, we've already kind of laid out our thoughts on NFT art and where it's going, and I'm definitely interested in your takes, Giff, of like what art you're looking at. I know you've brought up Jack Butcher a bunch of times. His collections are doing extremely well. But yeah, we have Jimena Buenavida doing extremely well too. So what's going on here?
Yeah, I've got vibrators and things happening behind me, so you might want to talk about it. I'll type some thoughts in the comments.
All right, so I'm just gonna read from it here because I'm not a Jimena collector. Like I would love to be, and I think I should get on that. I'm not gonna put my money where my mouth is yet because y'all are gonna call me out for it in chat. But I'd love to collect Jimena at some point. She says, GM Amigos, thrilled to be the artist in residence at Bright Moments all of July, minting Epiphanies, my first long-form gen art project on the Ethereum blockchain. Oh, so this is awesome. This is a Bright Moments reveal here. Available worldwide at Bright Moments galleries all month. Can attend, no problem. Delegate for remote minting. Ask me how in the comments or DM me. Open edition minting now. 0.05. Oh, aesthetically, I like this a lot. I really do. Like immediately, I'm attracted to it. You're muted.
I was saying it's awesome, first of all. And it's not just that like, hey, it's good looking, it's attractive and interesting, the animation is neat. It's like if you've been following her trajectory in the space, there's a very clear through line.
Yeah. Yeah, I was listening to the, and I need to drop this in chat as well because it's a fantastic interview. But my respect for generative art after listening to Punk 6529 on Blockworks is like gone through the roof. Because he had that large goose sale or goose purchase here for like 6 million, and he was talking about how generative art, part of the art is what it creates and the chances of it creating that, like in that one canvas, for example, a goose that is now seen as like one of the most valuable ringers, and the chances that had to occur are so astronomically low because of the way generative art works.
He called it emergent. Right. So like he talks about there's different types of things that happen with generative art. And one of the rarest things that happens is when something emerges out of the algorithm that's totally unexpected, that like you can just recognize that wasn't meant in any way, but it's like something has emerged. And that's why people put such a high value on this weird goose looking thing, because it was not intended, nobody meant to do it. The algorithm didn't mean to. It's just by chance and the design of the algorithm that it created an output that created a goose looking head in this generative project that looks, different than all the others. And so that has emerged as a unique design that, people relate to or see something in. And it's just this very interesting connection between, human human programming and then computer algorithms and chance.
Yeah, I'm going to try to get a good look here at the goose, because that was kind of a cropped image. But yeah, so this Jimena piece, I'd like you to touch on it anymore if you'd like as well, Giff. But let me pull up that goose ringer and then also just touch on any last piece with Bright Moments as well. Like that's a cool experience, that live mint. I love seeing that in the. I remember like specifically in the bull run, you had like a lot of celebrities doing Bright Moments, like going to them and doing the live mint.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and do it here in LA. And yeah, again, I'm sorry for the noise. One of the coolest things about this is that it's her first generative project on Ethereum. She's been doing Tezos. She's been doing Tezos drops, and this is her first Ethereum generative art collection. And it's an amazing way to roll it out with Bright Moments. So this is a big deal, I think.
Okay, so she also says available worldwide in IRL, right? In the Bright Moments galleries all month. But if you can't attend, you can DM her. She's saying delegate for remote minting. Ask me how in comments. So delegating for remote minting, this is like me saying to you, Giff, can you mint it for me? Is that essentially what she's saying?
Yes.
Got it. All right, so there's the look at the goose. Obviously, like again, like so many inputs in different like varying things had to go into this art being created, and the fact that it creates essentially, this very like minimalistic goose is kind of like it hit the light bulb moment for me, right? Like, oh, okay, I understand like where that value is seen in the actual process of its creation. So that's pretty cool.
It's the process, which is very random and yeah, can't be predicted, unpredictable.
It really kind of hit for me too, like that art piece, right? Like that's why NFT art is going to be long lasting. In a time where PFPs are seen as kind of like on shaky ground, NFT art I think will always continue to exist, because again, it's valued for just being itself. Whereas these utility pieces, man, like the business models have been shown to be absolute ass. I think, Justin, you just said it. Crypto startups probably failed more than 99% of the time. That I agree with that. So the idea here is like NFT art is not essentially about business. It's about the art, and therefore isn't susceptible to this utility piece that needs to be created.
I want to quote Sabet here, if I can, without being interrupted. He's the one, when he launched Tokyo Punks, who famously said, "Art is the utility, love is the roadmap," which at the time was kind of breaking with what these big generative, or collectible collections were doing. But he was the first one that just said, like, no, I'm not going to be doing crazy promises. I'm an artist. This is a big collection. It's a collectible, but that's the utility. It's the art.
Okay, we started today. Let me end with this comment first. Louise is saying she's been grinding on that generative stuff lately, not just basic algorithmic, but like doing her own programming. That's really cool. Easy and Crypto saying that's dope. I need a delegate. Scarcity is over. It's about abundance. Is a complex topic that I don't necessarily want to jump into. I will say that my general take on the whole NFT space, and whether that's related to Blur and the different business models, like all of this stuff is going to exist. Like, why not both? Like, there will be projects that continue to launch on scarcity or like perpetuate that narrative and be successful. but we'll see projects that do it well with abundance. There's going to be both.
I know this reactive sort of like knee jerk polarization that always happens. I disagree with too. It's like, oh, this is dead. Now it's all this. It's like, I get that metas shift a lot, but I think to your point, Q, like it's the whole space is more multifaceted and nuanced than just saying it's all one thing.
Yeah. And only more so as we get to become a larger ecosystem. That's really the take. Is like people have a knee-jerk reaction when it's a super small environment. When something new enters, they're like, "Oh, but that's not what we were about." It's like, "Well, you're still going to be able to do that. Here's your corner of the world. Here's your corner of the Ethereum entity, or what would you call it? Like a nation state over there. And there's going to be these things over here. And they can exist at the same time, folks. All right, we started to cover the blur trait bidding here, and we got some takes from NFT statistics that we could potentially go through here. What I expect, a microcosm of the past 4 months, Grail traits will get bid up. More points are given for bids at the biggest premium to floor. Holders will see exit liquidity that they haven't seen in a while. Holders will sell to airdrop farmers. Holders will go from a group of people who bought the trait because they like them and had community to a group of people who are only there for the blur. That sucks. That was one of the coolest things when NFTs started to first kind of launch. What you saw was like all of these like sub communities that launched around, like Doodles had like the cones. So if you owned like an ice cream cone doodle, you were in the group. I have a bunny ears Twitter DM that I'm still in. I got to meet Crystal Hefner, was one of the bunny ears apes, because obviously her dad founded Playboy. So like that would suck if this like, yeah. I mean, maybe that's dead.
It's this is the negative feedback loop of overly financializing everything and making it entirely about trading and farming blur tokens.
Yeah. And I think statistics is coming to the same conclusion. Farmers will want to dump to get their ETH back eventually. Bids will grind lower, and traits will lose relevance over time, aside from farming points. Basically, back where we started. Where I could be wrong is if farmers have learned their lesson by now and don't bid war. Yeah, good luck with that. And last take here on the blur process. Paying people to bid on stuff they don't want to hold is only good for exit liquidity. It's a problem for everyone else and doesn't end well.
Yeah. That makes sense to me. Like, I think that's probably a solid assessment of where this can and might very well go, based on, what NFT statistics is saying is like, look, we can already look at how these incentives have, created certain behaviors over the last few months. So if any of that holds true,
yeah,
then this is likely what happens. Makes sense to me.
Got it. All right, I'm going to pull up CryptoSlam here because Justin Murray is a big supporter of Solana, obviously. So we definitely want to give it some love, because Solana is, again, one of the larger chains when it comes to NFTs. You can see, CryptoSlam tracks all different chains. You kind of have a cross-chain analytics piece here. Solana is sitting at 3 over the last 24 hours. If I zoom out to 7 days, see if we can get another look. So that it goes up to 2, so even overtaking like most of the ordinals trading. So I saw SMB on the timeline last week. So that was like a collection that was, I believe, minting at the time. You can see Ethereum. So SMB, there it is. SMB Barrel Raffles is the most traded NFT in the world over the last 7 days. What do you got to say about that, Gift? Did you expect that?
No, I don't even know. I don't even know what it is. So I'm clearly not. I have not been engaged in the Solana ecosystem lately. So,
dear Solana community,
tell me, dear Solana community, thank you. What is it? What is it? Educate me.
Oh, I'd like to be educated. So here's the other thing I'm looking at with Solana, right? Like, obviously, Utes to gods. I'm looking at like where are the other collections? Like, what are the second or third most like active. Maybe, and again, I don't want to use trading volume as a sign of health, like fully. I think it's one piece. But when you look at this chart, you see SMB raffle with the number one most traded asset in NFTs, like it's full stop. But I'm looking for other collections within Solana as well. So Mad Lads, heard about Mad Lads. Bodogos is over there with the Nifty Portal guys.
Yeah, I saw Bodago's getting a lot of attention and love. I think we looked at it briefly, and I personally didn't fall in love with the art on it. So I was like, it felt to me like something that would come and go pretty quickly. Like I didn't feel like it was iconic or unique or good enough to like really hold a strong community long term once it lost its initial steam. Who knows? It could be wrong. That was like just my very, very peripheral or initial assessment, just looking at some of the art that we saw. So I don't know anything else about the community, the artist, or what they have planned. We'll see. But I already, I haven't seen people talking about it that much more. I've seen a couple people rocking it as PFPs. Again, it just launched like a week ago. But other than Bodogos, Mad Lads, I haven't been hearing anything else from Solana lately. I don't know. So what are these raffle tickets though? What is this SMB thing?
I feel like we should have an expert on and not
compressed. Well, so Justin's saying he's always got to be so confrontational, saying, "I dare y'all to step out of your comfort zone and learn." I mean, like you don't have to. Like we're here always trying to learn. To step out of your comfort zone and learn about new NFT types like compressed NFTs and X NFTs. Yeah, again, we're always trying to cover new token standards and things like that. So happy to learn more about what these are. I've heard of X NFTs. I have not heard of compressed NFTs yet. So don't know what it is. Excited to learn more about it.
So again, I'm perusing Twitter, right? So take this with a grain of salt. But what we have here is a definition of both X NFTs and compressed NFTs. X NFTs represent ownership over the execution of some code. Compressed NFTs use concurrent Merkle trees to achieve 1000x reductions in on-chain data storage. Dynamic NFTs allows for so we know obviously like we've seen a few collections go this route with mutable metadata that's able to be changed.
So there's some function in the contract that you can call using your X NFT, I guess. Like you've got something that you can actually program or pull a trigger on some function. That's interesting.
So Prodigy's giving us some it's tough, man. We're walking on eggshells up here. We cover Solana. We get a little comment from Prodigy. We don't cover Solana. We're getting.
I have a feeling Prodigy wasn't directing that at us, but either way.
Yeah. Look, one, Solana has, I think, always been relatively active chain. I think again, they experience some tailwinds. GIF, even in our chat, in our Discord group there, Saigo was talking to us about like the downwind effects essentially of being associated with FTX and the fallout there. And I think that they're doing a great job recovering. There's clearly a lot of interest. You saw SMB, which we haven't even looked at, doing tons of volume. I'm still a large Star Atlas whale. I'm looking forward to seeing that project come to fruition. So, maybe they go the gaming route as well. Fractal's on that platform. So,
so my take on Solana is that there's always going to be a hardcore fan base there, regardless of like how big it is. Just because there's people like Justin Murray that are like bought into that ecosystem that really love it, and so. Yeah, I'm bullish on Solana long term, at least existing in some capacity, and probably having projects, pop off. So and here and there, how big and robust does it get in the future? time only will tell. But I'm at least bullish on what I can tell, because I know it's got some maxis. It's got some really hardcore fans that just want to be there no matter what. And it's been surviving some pretty hard times, like you said. I wanted to call out Mike Scott here. Mike Scott
Raul.
saying, referencing Raul Pal, somebody who I follow and I really appreciate his takes a lot, saying that he had what he thinks is a good macro take on NFTs, saying that NFTs are just a lagging indicator of a bear market. I tend to agree with this. I think it's also a lagging indicator of a bull market, because my whole belief on this is that NFTs are the most derivative, most risky assets on an already risky, financial derivative, or whatever you want to call it, so like what we've been saying, Q, that I still believe is true, is that Bitcoin and ETH have to run. They have to get close to like all-time highs. And then what you see the cycle into altcoins, and then altcoins pump. And then only then do I think the NFT bull market starts to come back. And this is why I think like we could still be a long ways out from an NFT bull market, because there's still sort of like several cycles, outside of the NFT market that have to take place before NFTs see the benefit of that new liquidity, and people wanting to actually speculate on the most risky assets again.
It cannot be as easy as just timing the halving, right? Like that's like the 20 IQ, 200 IQ bell curve that we always like to talk about. Like, it cannot be as easy as just next year's halving. Which has essentially been the indicator for every other bull market that has existed. Is just timing things around halvings. So you saw the pump in 2017 around that Bitcoin halving. Then you saw it in 21 around the next Bitcoin halving, and now you'll potentially see it maybe in 2024. So maybe I'm getting my timelines off. Maybe that was a 2020. So anyways.
Then Mike agreeing with what we're saying that's it. You see them at tail end of liquidity conditions. To be honest, BlackRock ETF starts it all off. Hope you got that Biao NFT ready, Q, because this was actually something that was happening over the last few days that we didn't get to cover. And that was a couple of things on the macro front real quick. SEC basically came out and said that the existing Bitcoin ETF filings from BlackRock and all these big funds were not sufficient. And so, Q, you started getting a little cocky. I saw you calling me out there on Twitter. But I went and actually read a little bit more, and I think it's actually a positive indicator, because to me what they're saying, if you actually read into it, Q, is they're saying you still need to provide. Well, they're providing notes. This is like a feedback round saying you need more clarity around these specific things, which to me says the SEC saying, hey, here's our notes on this to actually get us there, which means that this is not done. They're not saying, hey, we're saying no. They're saying currently this version needs an update before we can approve.
Got it.
And so anyway, back to Mike Scott's point, though, he thinks the BlackRock ETF is going to be the beginning of the next crypto bull market, with BTC and ETH, maybe starting to really pump towards their all-time highs again. And then again, hopefully from there, altcoins and NFTs will follow.
Yeah, again, the halving coming next year is well primed. So maybe we do see a run there at the end of the year, and then 24 is the year of our dreams, boys. All right. I did want to cover some heavy metal gameplay reaction before we jumped out of here. Again, we've been covering the Blur release today with trait bidding. We got a little bit to Solana there, talk some generative art. So let's talk some gaming. I do have the Heavy Metal Forge up here now, and we can potentially hop in. I don't know what the quality will look like, but we can see what we can get after here. So initial takes, GIF, I'd love the people in chat, if you've played Heavy Metal, if you've seen the gameplay, let me know. I was live streaming this on Monday, gave my pretty mid take of it's a 5 out of 10 for me. So I know that's a little bit of a cop-out, but to be fair, like I think this game is situated primarily, at least right now, to just be a vote farming game, and that doesn't feel great. As a gamer, like these are the things that we give to Web 2 gamers or gamers that aren't familiar with NFTs, and they look at us and they're like, "What are you doing?" Like, it's not necessarily a game I play without the mechanic of trying to get the amps.
Yeah, I think that's all really fair. And I think what I keep telling myself, which I think is true, but I hope is true, it all remains to be seen, is I think that this is all part of a bigger picture, and so they're kind of like asking you to get in, start playing with certain mechanics, start getting some votes, start building and upgrading certain things, because this is all going to evolve, and all these actions actually matter in the evolution of these NFTs and the next phases of the game. Right. So it's like, it's not the most fun, rewarding game as it is, to your point. Like it does have sticky elements that make you start coming back because you it does have good progress. You can see progress, leveling up different things. There's some cool mechanics of being able to go visit and vote. But it does feel like, to your point, like a lot of it's all about just trying to farm votes, which I suck at and I hate. Like I don't want to spend a lot of time fucking politicking for my forge. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
It's just not what I want to do ever. So yeah, that's a struggle for me. Like I'm not going to do as well as people that are good at that want to be out there tweeting constantly about go vote for my fucking forge and shit, or hanging out in discords all day trying to, convince people to go give them their vote. But also, all of that said, these are actual NFTs that we own that are in a sophisticated game environment that looks cool, that also has the potential to develop into something much more robust. And so to me, it's still pretty exciting at this stage just to be actually getting invested and building something in a Web3 game that has a lot more potential. So I'm playing it. I'm doing it. I got 2 forges that I'm running right now, and I'm gonna keep going with them and see how far I can push them.
Yeah. So for those of you that are trying to like get some tips here, we'll get into that in just a second. But I think the point you made that's super important about this, which is maybe why I'm rating it at least a 5 out of 10. I want to get your rating, but the idea that it's the first step in some type of like game release over time. That's the big piece that cannot be missed here. Because if you look at this game and just say it just is, and this is the game, and this is enjoy it while it's here. Like even the fact that we are getting a raid at the end of season 3, I believe, or at the end of season 3 or 2 or 3. It's even beyond that. This is a tune-up for another game past this. It's a tune-up. We're gonna get Legends of the Mara as well. All of this is happening at the same time. So I think you made a great point there, that it's you cannot view this as just a game release. It's kind of a step in this like emergent game release. What was the term that we were using? Emergent with Cock Punch?
Elf, emergent long fiction.
Yeah, it feels like you're kind of participating in this. You
just had to bring up my Cock Punch, didn't you?
Real quick.
Well,
go ahead.
Well, okay. So as far as rating it, real quick, I mean, I think that your 5 out of 10 is fine. Like, I'm not mad at that. To me, I'm very critical of anybody that's doing these flash, quick, hot take judgments on this, because so much of it to me feels like it's just very short, immediate, reactionary shit to try and farm bird points on Twitter. And like the bigger context of what they're trying to do is very important to me and how good this actually is. And so I want to at least play this through the first 3-week season and see what happens then before I really try and assess how good it is. Like I for instance, I really hope at the end of this first season that with the second season, they introduce something new. You know what I mean? Like I hope that there's new content or mechanics or something that with each season kind of builds on this, because I will, if it's basically 9 weeks of just the same thing of just cleaning up shit and fixing my forge constantly and trying to upgrade tiles without adding anything else new into it, I'll be a little bit sad. I'll be like, okay, it's like as cool as it is to be playing a Web3 NFT game with my NFTs, the mechanics are just not that fun at that point. Like there's not that much more that we're doing, and the constant just fucking clicking and trying to your point, like farm votes, I'm not that into it. But if during these season arcs, they're introducing new things, new DLCs that actually change and introduce new things, and all of it again reveals more about how this is building into a much bigger picture, then I'm going to say like, yo, this is being artfully executed and they're actually doing better than fucking anybody out there. Like nobody else has got me into their game and actually interested in what they're building with some kind of interesting season mechanic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I could simultaneously give it like a 1 or a 2 out of 10 right now for how fun it is without looking at the context, or say like, this is the first fucking game that has me actually excited in Web3. I'm giving it a 9 or a 10.
Yeah, that timepiece that you keep coming back to is super important. It's a progression that we're going through right now. It's not just a end result of a game. 2 things I want to point out real quick related to this release, right, is 1, the heavy metals themselves, and 2 is ApeCoin. So Harry Lou's been following this. We had him on a channel 2 weeks ago, or 2 or 3 weeks ago, to talk about Web3 in Asia and ApeCoin and all these different things. Obviously, he's super tied into the ecosystem. He has the stat here is $207,000 $8 have been spent in ApeCoin on the in-game currency gears.
And a lot of people speculating that that's of course going to increase as the seasons build and as the stakes build and as more is revealed, which I believe is absolutely true. Like, I think as more people get into it, they start to understand the mechanics and they see the evolution and then the promise of like where all this is going. Yeah. And then the fighting starts to happen and shit. Like, I think the spending increases.
Yeah. ApeCoin hasn't really seen again like any significant pump. Again, people were expecting, hey, now you have utility, now you have a sync. Maybe we see some ApeCoin price charts start to look a little bit better, but we really are kind of holding and reflecting more of the general market. Heavy metals basically went through this cycle. As the game was releasing, they pumped up to 0.97, I think, like maybe a little bit less. Maybe it was like 0.95. Immediately upon release, dumped down. So these are people that are just speculating around the game's release. They dumped it to about, I think, 0.45 or 0.42, and now it's starting to be accumulated, I think, by whales that are trying to go higher and higher up this leaderboard. Because basically, in order to compete at the highest level, if we look at the fame board here, the leaderboard, these whales will likely continue to purchase heavies if they start to get pushed out. So someone that's sitting at 180, if they buy a heavy, can be essentially at 184, I believe. So they could eventually get to 184 if they buy a heavy. So you can see that mechanic playing out in real time. And the heavy price is increasing, right? I think that's what you had, that initial dump off the speculation for the game. Now what you're seeing is an accumulation by whales playing this game.
Yeah. And it'll be interesting to see where that goes over the coming weeks and maybe even months. Asmodai asking, what game genre do I normally play? And are you only playing because you have NFTs in the game as opposed to it being engaging?
Yes.
So being honest, and honestly, that's kind of a disappointment to me because I was hoping that this would be a more mobile focused, sticky, like game. Kind of like, I mean, look, the Dookie Dash was actually a fun arcadey game. Like, that was really fun to play and addictive. This, I don't know that it has as much of that engaging fun to it right now. And so it's, unfortunately, I was hoping that maybe there would be some better onboarding opportunities here with a sticky game. But no, this is much more about being invested in the evolutionary like mechanics of these creatures and items and characters, they're all part of this world and being invested in that world through these NFTs and trying to grow the power and value of these NFTs. So yeah, right now, unfortunately, no, I'm not playing the game just because I think it's a super engaging game. I am playing it primarily because I'm invested in the world and where it's going.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there. And I'll get to that. I do want to point out this is essentially the alpha on the builds that people are starting to or have figured out, which is basically that the more tiles you create, the harder time you're going to have to get them to a certain level. So really, you just want to connect to the certain forge or a certain, I guess the portal here, and you want to be able to level those up as quick as possible. So the next level I need to upgrade this portal to get more energy to vote more is 100K. So I need this level to be 10, and I need like a certain amount of energy. And that's pretty much the alpha. So you see some people are building out extremely, like this isn't necessarily the most efficient, but I want it to look a little bit good, right? Same thing with the blues.
Yeah. So DP saying it feels like they just put some shit out because they felt pressure to release something. I disagree with that take. People knew that this was coming for like months before people starting fudding Bored Apes. And they've been working on this game for years and the larger other side trajectory for all of this for like better part of 2+ years at this point. I think they have a very strategic rollout plan with all this. And I don't think that they are just like, oh no, people are like, our floor is dropping, we better fucking release the game that we've been working on forever half-assed. Like, I don't think that's at all what they're doing.
So Prodigy saying, from someone that currently plays COD, Apex, League of Legends, World of Warcraft, unless I'm getting apparently the best game of them all, Rocket League, unless I'm getting a bag, no way I'm playing this for fun. But I could see promise of the game evolving into something better. I like the idea that you got to pet it and clean up after it. So they leaned into that more of like you got to take care of your bot or it dies. I actually like this take. I don't think dies, but it would get rid of the farming factor that you see, because essentially people are putting up like 15 tabs and just getting after it. If you had to take care of the bot or else it like reverts a level or something like that, you probably see less of the farming.
Are you playing all the ones that we bought at all?
Yes.
You are?
And,
okay.
And dude, and that's another feature of this too, is how does that reflect in the price? Because the heavy's forge goes with it. That's one thing I haven't seen play out.
Yeah, that's interesting. No, so that's why I actually think this is more interesting than a lot of people think, right? And so while we're all kind of questioning, like, why are we spending all this time building out these forges? I don't think we even understand yet what these forges are or why they matter in the grand scheme of things. That's why I don't take anybody seriously that has just come out with these initial takes of like, this is why it sucks and this is why they should change it all. Oh shit, sorry. And like DP saying like, sorry, this just isn't it. Like they have no master plan. It's all shit. Like, dude, sorry. Like I think you're just being reactive and don't actually have the bigger content. My take is I disagree. And
yeah.
That's your opinion.
Dookie Dash was better.
Dookie
Dash was a better game.
It was better on some metric of just being able to play it for the game. But like Dookie Dash had some implications on the evolution, but like that was the limit. It was limited to a very small, impact. I think this is going to have a bigger impact that resonates for a while into like where all this stuff's going. So anyway, my whole take is like, I think everybody's freaking out and being super reactive. And I don't think anybody actually knows the truth of like why we're doing any of this right now. So to say it's all good or bad is to me just whatever. It's just nonsense. Just saying stuff.
So here's a very complex release here. There's so many different factors. ApeCoin being involved in this, where it eventually goes. Like it's not just a game they put out to honestly like just play for fun and that's it. Like there's so many other things. It's always some esoteric grand scheme. But really, that's the cool part about it. Is like we are on a journey with them. Like they Legends of the Mara is set to come out. Other Side is set to come out. If those things weren't set to come out, then I don't think we would be talking like this. Like look, full stop. If the Other Side wasn't set to come out and this was the game they released, people would be furious. But the whole idea is we're doing something that gets us to that game, that eventual game. If the other side sucks, then people are going to be really pissed. But you have to kind of, again, look at it as a step in this process. I know that sounds ridiculous, but the Dookie Dash was live for like 2 weeks. Like
This is
they're just made to come out for a small window.
they're working on developing Web3 live service gaming models that nobody's ever created before.
Here's a really cool take, right? Or a really cool situation. Orenji is he made a ton of money playing the Dookie Dash. I think he was a delegate. He made $500K as a delegate there. He just joined the BAYC ecosystem, right? So this is like a cool immersion effect, right? People get interested in the IP through these games, and they get more connected to the community, all that stuff. Well, he just bought his Bored Ape a day ago.
That orange background with the orange beanie. I see what he's doing there.
I'm going to go through this thread real quick. I want to see what he gets. But another aspect of this, you can get paid to vote for people. I have not found the MFers that are paying people to vote people up the leaderboard, but I'm here, and Gifted is here. If you would like.
We got votes. We got votes, fam.
And people are paying. So this is from Orenji's Twitter. People are paying people to downvote Orenji so that he's not number one.
Wow. Man, people are ridiculous. People are going to spend money on that instead of going out and spending $2,000 on a legit artist NFT that could like actually help them live their life and like buy groceries and pay rent. I don't know, man. There's some things that I just can't get behind in the space, but you know, it's the Wild West, man. People are crazy. I get it. People be crazy.
All right, this is the last thing we'll do here related to heavy metal, at least for now. We'll be covering honestly the release of different seasons. Orenji is saying, what are some changes you want to see the Forge in season 2? Let's see what the community says. Only visit forges in random fashion. You cannot choose what forge to visit. You actually doing something with it. Blind voting. Force users to vote for 5 forge comparisons before playing each day. I wouldn't go the route of forcing somebody to vote. That I don't think we can do that. But I like where the head's at with this idea of eliminating the whole voting, like as the main thing you're doing in the game.
Well, just also making it more fair. That's the thing that I haven't liked from the jump, is that like it's basically a popularity contest for influencers, and you know it's like another form of promoting whales, right? It's like another way to just give the whales more dominance. So, and that's one thing that I don't love.
And you know, the first thing people were doing when they were coming into the Forge, because of the trailers that we saw, was like building out like all of this stuff, right? And now what you're getting to is this is what it's come down to, you know? So like you're just optimizing for energy for the most part, because that's what leads to more votes. So I'm sure that's not what I don't know how they couldn't have expected that to happen, but you are seeing really cool forges, but not in mass, right?
I think that again, I think it's all in phases, right? So I don't know. Yeah, it's interesting, the strategies that are starting to come up, right? Yeah, but this is what mine tend to look like because I don't spend enough time to keep them constantly cleaned. They're just covered in dookie. It is a Dookie Dash in its own way. You're just constantly going to scoop poop. Again, I don't think we fully understand why all this matters yet, and I'm very interested. Like even though again, like I don't find the mechanics currently super fun, I'm still actually very interested and invested in building out my forge to see where it goes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
yeah,
like,
100%. Okay, so DP, I think you're hitting on something that's super important. A lot of people do not like the Farmville-esque, the Tamagotchi-esque games, and that's what this is. So you're saying it's just I'm a little astounded the gaming loop has built these. This is what these games are. Farmville is literally like you're creating
janitorial simulation. it's shitville. Yeah.
But
it's funny.
But these are what those games are. right? So I like the progression as well. Like just leaving my last take, like I like the progression of the tile systems and like feeling like you leveled up. But
But also
that's a
feeling
very
a connection. Look, even as annoying as it is right now, you are actually making people care more about these characters and these robots and how they evolve. And so, like, that's part of it. Again, I'm not going to say the mechanics are perfect or the most fun, but like, you're investing in these little creatures and actually putting time and energy,
yeah.
and all of that infuses meaning into these things. So, a lot of people are going to actually care a lot more about their mechs at the end of the day, because they're going to be like, yo, I literally poured fucking months of my time and effort into creating this creature and evolving it.
Yeah. I feel like we're standing pretty hard up here, but I think it's because this is one project that me and Gifted are both, intimately involved in. And so when I see somebody talk about Dookie Dash was unoriginal template, in my humble opinion, you're missing the point of what Dookie Dash was. Like it was literally one of the first times in the history of the world that you had a like Ready Player One scenario where they were going after that key, and the only people that could participate were the people that held the assets. And at the end of the rainbow was a $1 million key. Like
1.6 million.
it was.
But not just that, dude. There were so many cool things about Dookie Dash. You can tell me it was a derivative or a whatever. It still felt like a unique Bored Ape game that was fun as shit, was addictive. It encouraged like us to support
It
each
was
other
way
as
more fun,
friends. Like, I got to play for Cake and like level him up. You got to play for me. So it created this community camaraderie that I hadn't seen in a lot of other things. And it was, as far as I know, the most successful Web3 gaming activation of its kind. Like, in a short 2-week period, there was like $2.5 million in ApeCoins spent on that game. And you had a tremendous amount of people really, really engaged and like playing that shit. And to your point, it had real value and repercussions for a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah, in result, I mean, I'm sitting on a Celestial because I was able to grind out that game. Like, I feel rewarded for that period, and as a gamer, I will say too, Gif, as much as I hate the voting system and the end result of my comms with other apes, I've connected with more apes in the last 4 days than I've connected with in my, I think, entire time in BAYC. Like, there are Discord groups. I'm in Other Space FM. I'm in Twitter DMs. It's
solidifying community and building relationships like no other community. Like, very, very few communities out there.
Yeah.
Are actually doing this level of real community engagement and activation. And so, I don't know, man. It's so easy to pick apart the bad things without looking at all the things that it's doing. Like, there's a lot of things that this is actually doing well.
Yeah. I think the low hanging fruit is that it's not doing the game part well. Like, it's doing the progression. Yeah, it's doing the progression well. In this idea of like everything else besides like Dookie Dash was awesome, and I don't know what's up with the obsession with Dookie. So that is a great take. Prodigy saying Dookie Dash was fun AF. None of the voting is happening on chain, so the assets are on chain, right? Like the heavies are on chain, but things like the power ups. So if you go into this shop, you can see there's different power ups, there's different other pieces, but this was the awesome thing for me too. GIF was being able to use ApeCoin and it really tangibly gets you assets in the game. Like, that was, and it was seamless. It was like, and I could show you guys now. So I could go and buy. So I've got a few ApeCoin probably in my wallet, this wallet. So buying gears, this is almost like buying gold in World of Warcraft. But instead of using fiat, you're using ApeCoin, which is just, I mean, maybe I'm just like freaking out over nothing, but I don't find a way to simplify it. Like, it's literally so cool that the ecosystem token is being actively used in a game. That just boggles my mind that we're sitting here talking about that, because it was always a dream when you first hear it. Okay, so 1 ape equals 127 gear. Let's see if I have ape in this wallet. So I'm approving a transaction right now. Actually, the gas is more, but for the lulz. So I have 637 gears. Let's see if this increases. and here we are. This is the shitty part about Ethereum. And you can see purchase complete. I bought.
That's pretty quick.
Yeah, I bought some gears, and now I can use that as aesthetics, and I can use that as different power ups and things like this. So. So this is another cool leveling mechanic. As you complete different objectives, you get other things unlocked. You can see there's like hundreds of things that need to be unlocked. Different tiles as well that need to be unlocked. So that's another cool aspect of the game. I think we showed a good amount of it at this point. But yeah, Orenji is now an ape. I would follow. Obviously, we're going to be following it throughout. I really like Orenji's takes, though. He's like fully trying to be the number one player in these different mini games.
Dude, if you can turn that into a lifestyle and a business, man, why the fuck not? Honestly, we should probably get even more fixated, and maybe it would actually like really pay off. Who knows? But there's gonna be people that like absolutely make a lifestyle and do really well in Web3 gaming, just like there's in esports. You know, there's people that have done or just streaming. You know, there's people that have made a ton of money as professional gamers, whether it's whether it's playing competitively in esports or just creating content. There's going to be a lot of people that actually figure out how to turn these Web3 games into lucrative endeavors.
So, last piece here. What's the rating? Are you going 5 out of 10 as well?
I'm saying I'm fine with that because it's middle of the road, and until I see at least like how the season cycles go and why this all matters and they share more info, like I'm not ready to say anything's good or bad yet, because I don't think any of us understand why we're doing any of this shit. So yeah, I'll give it a 5. I'll give it middle of the ground, middle of the highway, whatever, right now, and then come back to me in a couple weeks.
Okay, Forge of July thought, don't like the Forge, downvoted power. So this is Spencer Tucker, essentially the head over there at Yuga, chief gaming officer. Visuals are bartering. Ultimately, only HVs can vote. Huh.
This is just nonsense, dude.
What?
This is people just trying to all act like they're fucking experts on this. Dude, I don't know. Just Twitter. I fucking hate Twitter, bro.
Spencer Tucker's set goals, pace yourself. So pace yourself has been brought up multiple times by Yuga and the guys there. The problem is that doesn't line up with the space. Like whatsoever. They're like, oh yeah, take your time. It's like, do you realize there's guys snorting Adderall every morning when they wake up and just playing it till they go to sleep until the Adderall wears off, literally 20 hours later, and then getting up and doing it all over again? Like that's the people you're competing with.
And they're gonna win. They're gonna do well.
They are gonna win. Yeah. My last take on all this is like I spend a good amount of time because I'm working out all these heavies. Hopefully we could sell these heavies based on the level, by the way. That would be great. That we get to. But how much time you're putting in to what the amps will be is basically creeping into my mind, because you're spending daily time. You're spending like an hour. If you want to level up, you're spending more than an hour. But like even the voting takes like 20 minutes, really to really work it out, because I've got 10 things voting for different things. Like it's just or 8 things voting. Sorry. Whether that ends with the amp being super valuable is the question, because then you could put in 18 weeks of work daily, and at the end it's like, oh, if you could have cut that in half, and the thing that you got isn't that much less valuable than the rare amp or something like that. That's what's worrying me.
Well, and the challenge with that is that a lot of it is dependent on market conditions. You know what I mean? Like, if the market's trash and nobody's spending on anything and nobody cares about anything right now, then it's hard in general. So I don't know. But you're right. There's going to be a lot of time invested in these things. Hopefully, it all turns out to be valuable, but we don't know. We just don't know.
All right, we're sitting here at an hour and 30 minutes. So, Gift, you have any last topics you want to hit, man? We'll roll out of here. We appreciate y'all joining today, giving your heavy metal takes, your Solana takes. We like to think we're pretty open here, and we've said this multiple times, but pretty open to learning about new innovations in tech when it comes to these blockchains and new innovations.
We're constantly trying to educate ourselves
yeah.
and others. Like what? Yeah, constantly, man. We're always doing our best. We're not, it's impossible to stay up with everything and be experts on everything, but we're constantly doing our best. So all I got, man, is that we appreciate y'all. If you're still out there, if you're still here, first of all, mad respect, and smash the like if you are still here. Yeah. We're back today after a long break, and we'll be back tomorrow. Last show of the week already. Short week here on the Web3 Network. But hope you're all recuperating and had a nice long weekend.
And I almost didn't make it today. I'm going to be honest. I woke up like, man. But your GM Web3 energy got me going.
It's contagious.
Hey, Andrew Steinwald's on the network tomorrow. So we did a sit-down conversation with him. Again, probably like the biggest, in my opinion, like top 3 thought leader on the metaverse. He had some awesome takes on what the metaverse means, which is always a great topic, right, Gif? Of that big M, little m. But
because nobody knows.
Yeah.
No, nobody has any idea. I appreciated, I think it was Based Heads and Supermassive. We need to find that take again. I felt like they had the most sort of like concrete, detailed answer of exactly what the metaverse is. So we'll reference that again in the future, but excited for this conversation.
Yeah, Andrew's been a guy. Yeah, and Andrew's been a good friend, great guy. Again, he also is married to Josie Bellini, but we didn't talk about Josie because it was about Andrew. I didn't want it to turn in. I'll have Josie on the channel some other time. But this was a great interview. I will be releasing tomorrow on the Wild Wild Web Pod. Follow that on Twitter or follow it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, man. A lot of great conversations I'm having there. So appreciate y'all's support. That's almost over, I think, 800 downloads at this point, somewhere in that vicinity. So it's been a good start, but I'm looking forward to growing that. Anyways, folks, thanks for tuning in. NFT Live, DP, Cryptophasia, Asmodai, Prodigy, Mike Scott, Justin Murray. If we missed your name, I'm so sorry. But you guys were awesome. Easy in crypto. Thank you. Our vibe, our tribe.